Hi everybody, welcome to Ye Old Naked Man Cafe. Today is March the 6th, 2026. My name is Dave Thompson, and this is basically just an introduction video. I decided to call my name, my channel, the Ye Old Naked Man Cafe, and there's a bit of a story behind that, but we'll get into that later. I'm going to try and post on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays for those of you who'd like to ride along on my journey. This is the first YouTube video I've ever attempted to put together, and I am very nervous. Public speaking has always terrified me. Trying to get up in front of a group or a crowd was impossible. I just couldn't do it. But hopefully, if I keep working at this, it'll improve over time. This is not going to be one of those how-to videos. I could probably do one of those, but there's so many of them out there right now. I don't want to get into that. This is going to be more about my life experiences. My life as a nudist. Want to discuss my childhood, things I remember, trouble I got into, things I did, and some of the memories I have from that time. I think I've lived through some of the greatest changes that history will ever see in one lifetime. I was born in Windsor, Ontario, and I remember the old horse-drawn buggies and carts and stuff. They used to deliver milk with a horse-drawn buggy, and they deliver ice in a wagon that was put in your ice box before we had a refrigerator. One of my favorite pastimes was going to the dump. My dad or my granddad and I would go to the dump and never knew what you're going to find. Maybe find an old lawnmower, drag it home, take the wheels off it, make a go-kart. Maybe get some parts and pieces I could put on my bike. You never know, but it was always interesting. And I also remember before we had TV, we'd all gather around the radio and listen to old westerns or hockey games or maybe just some music. And that was before we had our own TV. I remember as a young guy, I spent a lot of time working on a farm. I remember I worked with one fella, and we had quite a relationship. And we had it worked out where I was going to work on his land and not get paid for it, but then I'd use his equipment, rent my own land, and get my income from my own farm. So we had that all worked out, and so I'll talk a little bit about that deal. My philosophy at the time, when I was growing up, was, if it's broken, I can't break it. So I guess I might as well just take it apart and see if I can't fix it. And boy, that got me into a bit of trouble sometimes. So in the early 70s, I decided I wanted to move west. I had no idea where I was going. There was a time in my life I needed a change, so I decided one day I was just going to take off. So I had a car, it wasn't paid for. I had $500 in my pocket, and I headed west. Well, everything went along pretty good until just outside of Winnipeg, the water pump went out of my car. Well, it turned out I hit Winnipeg Friday night, long weekend, and everything is closed up. I had to spend 3 days waiting for the stores to open. And it was so bitter cold, I'll never forget that. But anyway, Tuesday morning, I went in Canadian Tire, got a water pump, and went out in the parking lot and put it in my vehicle. I just about froze to death. It was so darn cold. But anyway, I hit the road, heading for who knows where. And it was so icy I had to stop, let the air out of my tires just so I could stay on the road. It was that slippery. Well, I hit Calgary. Chinook had blown in. It was a beautiful, bright, sunny day. And I decided, well, this is about as good a place as any. And so that's where I settled down and get in a little bit more about my experience when I first got here and stuff like that. So anyway, we'll talk a bit about that. I remember I didn't have much money by the time I got here, so I had to find a job. So I filled my car full of gas, parked it at the place I was staying, and if I had to go for a job interview, I used to walk. The idea was that if I did get a job, I was going to need the gas to get back and forth to work, so I had to save what I could, so that's why I did it. Now, I also want to talk a bit about my life as an inventor. I had quite an inventive past. I remember when I was young, maybe 7, 8 years old, come up with the idea of rollerblades. Just a kid, didn't know what to do with it, so it's one of those ideas that look where it could have got me. I also spent a fair bit of time working with gyroscopes and hydrogen, and those were both very interesting projects. Wished I had more money to develop both of them, but anyway, I eventually ended up getting into this program at university in Calgary, and from that I went on to develop a website, and my website was basically set up to help inventors get their products to the market. And I'll tell you how I set that up and how I was able to attract inventors from all over the world. So that's quite an interesting tale as well. My philosophy back then was never, will it work? It's always, how can I make it work, or how can we make it work? And I also want to get into some videos on my travel. I love to travel. Met somebody in my hometown that loved to travel too, and talk about some of our traveling experience. Even a trip where we decided we're going to move to BC. So we loaded up her vehicle and my vehicle, and off we went. And we'd already booked a spot out there for the winter. Well, before we got there, we changed our mind and ended up making a nice trip. So, and then there's my health issues. Like, I have a muscle wasting disease, and so I want to talk a little bit about that disease and how it's caused an awful lot of falls over my lifetime, and how one of the falls was pretty serious, and I ended up losing my mind. I guess best way to put it. I couldn't get in my computer, couldn't carry on a conversation, I couldn't get in my bank account. I thought that's the way my life was going to be, but fortunately things have turned around a bit, and I'm on a better journey now. But that's what led me into moving into a lodge in central Alberta. I've been here for just over a year now. So, talk a little bit about that experience. So I've got lots of tales I want to tell, lots of different directions this channel's going to go. So I hope you join me. And anyway, I think I'm going to wind this one down a bit. So thanks for joining me. I hope you'll get a few laughs out of my channel. Maybe a few of these really got to be crazy moments, and maybe get a little bit of inspiration for your own journey. So take care, have fun, and I hope you join me on my next video. It's going to be on Monday, March the 8th, and I think I'm going to get more into a little bit of my inventive life and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going to say bye for now.